nearly freaking impossible. It's like, hold your horses. Seriously? What are these, IV Studios? Are these board games made for ants? I mean, I can barely recognize them with your previously known for over deluxeification, blingification on the tabletop. 3 card games? Yeah, let's talk. IV Studios, right? They're not known for this type of presentation. Cards with tokens. That's all it is. Pillars of Fate, a play off of their more recent game on crowdfunding. Graft, a play off of a previous crowdfunding game as well. And then Time to Panic, not related to any of their previous properties. Why are 2 of these 3 games some of my favorites of the year? Truth be told, I was not expecting anything from these games. You know, because of that comparison, because what you're known for and what you're bringing me are 2 disjointed, potentially, situations. And that's where the surprise is good, right? This is the nice type of surprise. The surprise where I said, oh. Plus, I'm going to throw in a 4th unrelated special card game of the year because 2025 just might be the year of card games, folks. There is so much excellence going around that it's worth talking about and being excited about because 2 of these 3 are potentially top 25 games of the year for me, or higher in that regard. One of them, you know what, we'll talk about it and why it's not particularly as much for me, but then the special little shout out here at the end for a secret little card game if you stay tuned long enough. That's all I got. Spoiler teaser over. Let's talk. Part of me just wants to do this video to see if I can be delicate enough and keep all 3 of these balanced during the whole thing. This is teetering on the edge without me even touching the table, right? It's totally not going to work. See, watch. I said, see, watch. There we go. We're going to start with Time to Panic. Now, I love this type of limited communication cooperative game, and that's what you're doing in a card play situation. We've seen plenty of iterations of the game, of the mind, of those types of situational. I'm going to be very clear about how I'm going to have to lay things out, and hopefully you can follow what I'm putting out there for you. Sort of like those Food Network challenges where they tag people in and the first person does that, and then the second person has to walk into the kitchen and figure out what's going on. It's kind of like that. It's a bad analogy, but Time to Panic. As you can see in front of you, we have 3 variable difficulties. Mild panic. Oh, I can't find my coffee cup. I wonder where it is. Panic. I can't find my child. Where is my child? Total panic. Oh my gosh, we're pregnant. Anyway, but this is a spin off of that. This game is brutally difficult. The whole concept is just ordering numbers again, like you've seen elsewhere. 1 to 36. There's only 36 cards, Chris, in this deck. You just have to get them out onto the board, and it just has to be in order. How hard could that be? It's like somewhere somebody said that, and IV Studios was like, our monkey paw just curled. And that's what this game brings. And it's so difficult. It is just masochistic in how it screws you over in a completely, mostly pleasurable way. At the same time, horribly frustrating. And so if you don't like just the random screwage in a game like this, it's not going to be for you. But if you're looking for like a step up of the game with more actual strategy and tactical gameplay, This is like that in a nutshell. Let me show you exactly what's going on here. Because on the flip side of these cards, my wife actually does not like the art on these numbers at all. She's like, what the hell number is that? I'm like, honey, it's an 8. It's in the upper corner. Anyway, so what you're doing is you start out with a very limited hand of 4 cards. If you want to be even harder on yourself, you can, phrasing, have only 3 cards in your hand. And essentially what you're doing is you're just playing a single card to your tableau here. We'll move the panic cards out of the way and I will show you. So what we've got here at the bottom of each of these cards are keywords that trigger when played. And they affect cards that are down on the table in some way, manipulation, shape, and form. Collapsing. We'll talk about that in a second, but if you have consecutive numbers next to each other, you get to remove them all from the row, put them in the discard pile, and create a gap. We'll talk about why gaps are important. Gaps mean that you can play into said gap. Because otherwise, normally in this game, you can only play on the ends of your numbers. And that's where this starts to get insane. Trade. Well, I mean, you know, what you do is you take a card off the table and then you put a card down back on the table, but you got to put it face down. Now, if I know what this is, your other marker comes in and you might put this down and you might say, hey guys, this is correctly in the right place. Check mark. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. You can always peek back if your token's on it, However, if it's not, you use the arrow to tell people which way do I want this to go. And you'll know in a second why that matters is because now we also have things like peek. And then we also have things like flip, meaning you're going to be flipping up and flipping down in this regard. So now you can see that I kind of would have actually probably done this one. And then I probably would have tried to put that there. And this one probably would have gone down here if I could have done it. And so you can start to see the semblance of where things are going. Now you can move things to the end. Move things to either end. You can move gaps. You can play into gaps in that way. And you can also delete. I'm not sure if I'm going actually with the Doctor Who thing there or the Matt Hardy. You can tell me in the comment section down below. Now, the other thing that I have not shown you at this point, and deletion, again, is important because it allows you to delete cards that are potentially out of order, and it puts a gap in there again. But the thing I have not shown you, the thing I have not said that makes this game so difficult or so pleasing in this regard, is that when you lay a move card down, when you lay any card down, you get one of the actions, free actions, you activate a card next to you. Except for the delete, because it's got those little symbols. So you do not reactivate deletes when you're down there, but you get to reactivate everything else. And you're going, Chris, this seems really straightforward. I just play one down there and I can just manipulate this for free. Yes, no. And that's where the panic cards come in. The panic cards are really causing you to panic because after every card that is played, this is where the game decides to screw with you. Slow scramble. Shuffle any 3 cards from the timeline and return them to their original positions. 1 is face down, 2 are face up. Oh, idle inversion. Choose 1 face-up card in the timeline, turn it face down. And then choose a face down and turn it face up. Oh, look. That's actually a panic card. How'd that get in there? Anyway, add 1 face-down card to one side of the timeline and a face-up card to the other side of the timeline from the reserve. Because after you play every single time, you draw back up to 4. And, oh, by the way, there's also one of these in here that swaps the first card and the last card on the timeline. There's ones that remove your gaps that you so carefully placed. And that's where things start to get crazy. The end game, the win condition for this is just when you played all these cards and you get down to 1 card in your hand. If you're playing at the easier difficulty, you just put that in the discard pile. You don't have to play it. If you want to play harder, you can actually play the last card and see what happens. But then what you end up with is some conflagration of numbers that are partially in order and partially out of order. And so then you have to say, okay, if this is the case, and these are my numbers here, which ones can I delete? The lowest number of deletions in order to score how well I did. So if I took out the 26 here and the 28 And the 2, I would have a 1, 5, 27, and 32 going up sequentially without any problem. And that would be a score of 3, which is marginal. And that's why this game is so difficult, is because my first time playing, I got like 10. I suck at games, right? I love them, but I suck at them. And then I played with my wife a few times. Phrasing, got to work on that. And we got down to like 3. But this is difficult. And that was on mild panic. Panic and total panic are just that much more difficult. And so this game is amazing. This game is awesome. I love it. It's much more thinky. Sometimes you're trying to, especially with the bonus actions, because this is the other part I didn't mention. You have to take the bonus action. You might not want to switch. You might not want to move. You might not want to trade. So you're putting them down there not only for what you want in the collapsing of the removal of the cards, that maybe you have a row of things between the 27 and the 32 that is actually the 1 and the 2. So a collapse would allow you to remove those, and get a gap. But again, this is the difficulty. The panic cards just mess with all of your plans. So it's fun screwage as well in that way, but I don't feel desperation or hopelessness as well. It's a fine balance. And so it's going to be a long-standing, staying game in my collection for that reason. This is one of the 3 that will be in my top 25 of the year. Again, this is my type of game. If you have similar interests or tastes to me, this one should be on your radar. And it's just that simple and straightforward, but don't be confused. Don't be overlooking this. The amount of strategy that was required of the planning, the manipulation of these cards is more so than most games that I've played. This is going to reminisce you of more of a medium weight Euro, I would dare say, of the turns that you're going to have to take, not only with the actions of the cards you have, but of those bonus actions that you have to take. That, I don't know why I'm holding the instruction card, that you are going to have some brain burniness, because the goal is having to delete 0 cards at the end. And I'll tell you, it's nearly freaking impossible. And it's a joy to behold. Now, Pillars of Fate, the second one up. Why did you do that? Second one up is also just a tremendous game. If you got vibes of Veiled Fate meets Scales of Fate, their previous crowdfunded game, meets a Battle Line Medieval, if you will. Because again, the concept is something you've heard before. All you do is play a couple cards to each lane. Highest power wins the quest. However, we've got our own IB Studios spin on it. Age 1, Age 2, Age 3. Round 1, Round 2, Round 3. You have your quest cards out in the middle. You lay your cards on one side. You lay your cards on the other side. Highest sum total wins. Straightforward, right? Then goes the Veiled Fate. As you can see, sickles and omegas. And the sickles are negative points. The omegas are positive points. And so how do you determine that? Well, if you look closely, you'll see on one side, though, we have feathers. On the others, we've got the scorpion tail. No affiliation to the Scorpion King, the Rock. Anyway, but what we've got going on here then is that determines which one of them is actually scored. And again, it's the person who has the most total of a number in a column that gets the the reward, or they get the negative points. And that's where the cleverness of this game comes in, because you can see that on all 3 of these they're different. On one side, sickle, omega. So what you want to win, how you want to push things, is dependent on what your opponent is doing. Because although you will have a hand of cards that is available to you on a turn-by-turn, round-by-round basis, these cards are symmetric and just dependent on the shuffling that you can see here. What you have, though, is you have the number. This is the number that totals up in your column to see whether or not you win. But then you've got the scorpions and the feathers at the top also that are different than the number in the sum total to determine whether or not this one or this one is the one that's selected. The other tricky dynamic is that in each column, you are allowed to, like I just did here, play one of these face down. So you can see what your opponent is doing. You can see which one they're hedging towards, and you can push them further towards it, or you can push them away from it and hope that you can win or balance it out. Or, again, you only got so many cards. So this is the other thing that becomes very clear after a play or two, is that age 1 is much lower value. Ages 2 and 3 ramp up the stakes in terms of points. So you might be able to win the battle, but can you actually win the war when the later ages hit the table? The last modifier of this, which is clever, I like it, is that in every single age, you put one of these tiles down in the middle that's randomly drawn. And this changes the rules, as we've seen with all of these battle line medieval games, or Lone Wolves, or those style of things as well, Duel for Cardia, the upcoming one as well, of what actually can happen. Now, I can place 2 face down in this row. Or you can have things like that happen. And why this one is important, and why this one is tricky, is that plays into the last element. I dare say the best element of Pillars of Fate, because otherwise you're going right now, because this is Battleline Medieval with slightly different versions and slightly different iterations. Because this is just numbers and it's like hold your horses. The last element of things are these nice, shiny divine cards. Because the divine cards at the beginning of the game all have special powers. They all have numbers associated with them as well, right? You know your boy loves some asymmetric, crazy take-that powers. And what happens is you are given 3 of these cards at the beginning of the game. And each age, you have to play one of them. Some of them will require you to play them face up, but you can also play them face down. But they all do crazy different things. And you have to. It's a must play one of them. And so now in this lane, I can't play this one here. But again, high risk, high reward. 4, adding to the value, add 2 to my other lanes. So am I really trying to win this one when I play it down? Or am I faking you out and am I going to go for one of these other 2? -1 point to the lane total? What? Gain 5 victory points, though, if I win that lane. 7 and 2 symbols? 2 scorpions to the left. And 2 feathers to the right. And so you can start to see how the craziness, and when you choose to play this in each age, makes the dynamic completely different. Yes, it's not something terribly different than a Battle Line Medieval. But you know what? I'm all for variants of this type of game. These are fun. These are the hit the table. These are the wow, I just outplayed you. Let's play it again style of things. And yes, you've got the little column tokens, because that ends up being a tiebreaker at the end of the game if you end up having those sorts of situations, or if it ends up in the lane. If you are the first one that plays there, high risk, high reward, right? Like, I am going to wait for you to play in some lanes so that I can adjust my strategy and screw you over. However, if you play first, you're going to get the tiebreaker, which is going to potentially screw me over. Because whoever has this column token in the column that you're scoring not only gets to decide if there is a tie between the symbols, the scorpions to the feather, which one wins, but they also have the ability to choose who wins the reward if the total sum is the same. Ooh, now you kind of want to play the first card in some of those lanes, because, you know, that happens, and it happens not infrequently. That's Pillars of Fate. That's everything. That's it. You play it 3 times. 1 age, 2 age, 3 age. Limited deck. Symmetric. Better person wins. Better planning tactically on a round-by-round basis, strategically, long-term. It's freaking fantastic. I love this game as well. This is absolutely going to be on a list for a lot of people, and you heard it here first. Maybe not. But you heard it here at least to say that this one as well is totally worth it for me. No questions asked. Just jumped out the bag trying to pick up stuff. That's the stuff nobody leaves in videos, right? Except for this guy. So, you want the meeples? I got the meeples. Graft is what we're talking about. Now, this is the tricky one, right? The other 2 games are 2-player only. This is for you and all your friends. But this one requires 3. Requires 3. That's just what you need to know. Plays 4 and 5, though. You have extra cards along the side that get taken out depending on the player count at the 4 and 5 mark. But the whole point of this, grafting, or should I say crafting, as you're slowly trying to fill up your cargo ship by, well, shipping cargo. And the form of cargo is the tableau that you are simultaneously creating on a turn-by-turn basis. Meaning, everybody takes their hand of cards, they look at them, and they play one down, face down, they flip it face up. Everyone does that, takes one down, pass it around, right? Next person gets that hand, gets to take one, place it down. Straightforward, you've seen it 1,000 times. So what's the twist, Chris? The twist in this one, did I lose a card? Anyway, the twist here is that along the left side of each of these cards, you'll notice that there is a symbol that does not match the color or the symbol of the card itself, but one of the other ones, meaning the next card in your tableau cannot be that color. I lay the yellow crystal down. It cannot be a blue card next. I lay the green berry card down. I can't lay a green or a blue. I lay the red card down, pink card, whatever you want to call it. I can't lay yellow or blue. Whoops, I tried to play a blue. Guess what happens then? You lose the whole thing, except for the card that you just played. These all go to the discard, which means you can't score them, which means you can't inevitably beat your opponents. So you have to be very careful about that. However, your cards are going to get winnowed down in your hand, and you don't know what's going to come around next to you. So how careful are you with this? How high risk, high reward? Because the other portion of this card that I did not mention is the lower left-hand portion of things. And the lower left-hand portion of things here has how these cards score in the tableau. And that's the more important thing as well at the same time. 2 points for every yellow pickaxe card to the right. 4 points, period. 3 points per unique pink card. Oh, 4 points if there's 3 cards to the right. So how risky do you want with these cards? Because there are some high risk, there are some low risk. There are 1 point for every type of this card, but there aren't that many types of that card. So is it worth getting in there? It has less restrictions, but some of these are going to be more valuable. And do you risk it? Now, when you decide that you are done, you've got a nice cargo to fill your ship. You would like to score this little baby at the end of the game, because you don't score it until the end of the game, but you can see kind of how it's going to do. On that turn, you play your ship cargo card here. And the tricky part about this that you have to remember, and this is the biggest make it or break it for me as a whole, because it's one of those things that we're not used to intuitively, right? On your turn, you always have one of these in your hand. Everybody has one. You play it down. Here's the tricky part, though. After you reveal it, then you have to pick it back up, put it in your hand, and then you have to play one of the other cards from your hand that can still be eligible to be played. That will still go into the scoring. That will still count for whatever you were having to count for. Whether that's an even number of cards needed to get the bonus points, or a certain number after a certain number, right? Like I just said. That is the counterintuitive thing that we're not used to. If I play this normally, it's just I play it and it happens. Nope, not in this game. If you score that, though, you move it. You'd say, I'm scoring this at the end of the game. You move it aside. Why might you score? Well, you know what's coming in your hand, and you don't think that you can potentially get another card down without losing that cargo. The other reason that you might score is that you have these silver and gold medal cards. And these are the objectives that are set out every single game that you are trying to be the first one to accomplish. As you can see here, 2 greens and 2 yellows in my cargo. I put 1 down, I get 10 points automatically. If I'm second or more, then I only get 5. Similarly, in the silver ones, you just got to have a red and a blue adjacent. 5 and 2. There are 3 silver ones out per game, and there is 1 gold out as well. And so this might be the make it or break it in terms of the end game scoring, just by how many of these you're going to be shipping, because these will get you some points, but these are guarantees as well. And the tricky balancing of this, similar but not really, because you're still scoring it forward, unlike far away, but similar enough that you have to have the right conditions. And if you're not paying attention to the conditions, you can easily overplay and lose out on some of these cards because they have to be so specific, or they're so unique in how they're doing things, right? I have to have unique cards of the pink one to the right. Ones to the left, already played, don't matter. I have to have more yellow cards. So that one's great, but it also doesn't score if I can't get any of the yellow cards down, or if I'm going for this one or this one. I just want to get it out there sometimes quickly. And that is Graft. You just play until you've gone through the whole deck. And there is quite a nice variety of these things, right? 1 point or 3 points if the next card is another pink. 1 point per that one. 3 points per unique fish to the right. And you can start to see 15 points if there are 8 cards in your tableau. So again, high risk, high reward. Can you get 8 out there? The last element of things that's a little bit counterintuitive, but also good, and the reason you might ship, or you might hope that someone else ships, actually, is so you're playing these hands, right, as I mentioned, and there's a limited amount of cards in them, and you're taking one, and you're playing it, and then you're passing it, and then you're taking one, and you're playing it. But anytime somebody ships, not you, anybody, your hand gets refilled for the next round. And that might be the saving grace that you need to get one down when you weren't previously able to with what was going to be coming your way otherwise. Or it might be saving someone else. So timing of the shipping is also playing into that. Now, if you just run out of cards, then everyone refills, and that's straightforward. But that also plays into it as a whole. So that's what you're dealing with in Graft. Now, you are rewarded slightly for the cards that are discarded, that are lost, that get busted, if you will, but they're only worth 1 point each in your discard pile, which is fine, but it's not a ton, and so you got to be careful. You're definitely getting points, but it's not the type of points that you want. Like I said, 3 to 5 player count. It actually goes by really quickly at the 4 and 5 player counts. I'd actually recommend this probably at the higher player counts, just because then you're going to be just honestly a shorter game, because you're going to go through the deck a little bit quicker, even though there is a good supplement of cards here between the 3 and 4 and 5 player counts. It plays fast. It arguably, potentially even plays faster than the other 2 games that we already talked about. And that is a great, great thing. And because there's only so many of these out, especially at the player counts, you're going to be racing to get these, right? You're going to first sit down and you go, okay, well, I want to get as many cards in my Tableau, right? This is what Tableau builders do. I want to, and no, that's not going to work. You are going to not do well, because other people are going to be shipping things. They'll be getting cards back. They'll be getting more. They'll be getting these out here, because you only need 2 of these adjacent. Oh, that's automatically 5 points. Oh, then I got the 3 points off of that. Or I got the 6 points off of that. And you're trying to get your, 27 point Tableau, and then you're going to bust because you're running out of cards, and it's not going to work. And so that's the difference. The push your luck, press your luck style of this is very pleasurable. It's very pleasurable. Is it as good, personally speaking, for me as the other 2? No. The other 2, like I already said, those are Liege games vibe, baby. But this is good, truth be told. And this is better than I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be just this really straightforward Tableau build, and it's not. And you do have other things that I did not mention. You have the ability cards right here. Replant, move 2 cards from your compost to the right of that. Recycle, get 1 point when you score this at the end of the game for each card in your compost. So you have ways of mitigating those busts. But again, these cards, the replants, the recycles, as well as a few of these like energy bar, which is a very tricky thing. -2 points actually when you score it if it's left in there. But on your next turn, if it's not scored, you can play 2 cards and return this to the hand to maybe force on somebody else. So that is how it's going to go. And don't worry, at the end of the game, in case you haven't shipped it, everything gets shipped at the end of the game when the game actually ends and you run out of the deck. And then when somebody ships and there's no more cards to draw, that's when things end, go capiche, and you score ad nauseum. And so the scoring, yeah, it's a little bit tricky with some of these. You kind of have to do the faraway thing and be like, okay, I'm gonna So that might be a little bit of a turnoff, but it's not hard. It's not hard. I can do it easily. If I can do it, you can do it. And that is Graft. Now, time for the secret game. Just had a moment where I looked up at the camera doing the overhead and wondered if I had pressed it, and it was actually starting, and it was. Okay. Have that like once or twice a week where I just go, crap. Okay. Oh no! Sort of situation. Last up, Brightcast. 2-player, head-to-head. It's like Mindbug. It's self-published. They sent it to me. And again, it's one of those where I said, this isn't, this is kind of clever. This is like a Mindbug style situation, like I mentioned, because the whole goal of this game is just to get 5 of these guys out there, 1 of each of them, or 5 of one of them. And you got this big deck of symmetric cards. Everybody's got the same 5. And you also have a dragon and an alchemist, right? They all have little powers. They all do little things. Straight up head-to-head take that chaos. But it's just like one of those things where you look at it and you go, why didn't somebody think of this before? Why is this such a clever little spin on things? Because each of them do something just slightly different. In this game, the concept is simple, right? You've got a hand of 4 cards at the beginning of the game. And what I do is I just draw another card, that I just play one of these cards. The Wizard allows me to draw a card. Or the Wizard, if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, acts as a react. So if someone else plays a Sorcerer, I can play a Wizard and the card that they just played, so in this case, a Sorcerer, put these in my discard pile and block their card from being played. They just have to throw it in the discard pile and they don't get to play one that turn. Their turn's over. It's back to me. Sorcerer, though, and why I might block this in the first place, you play the Sorcerer, and the Sorcerer just deletes one from the other person's tableau of your choice. The Warlock is another interesting one. It's just a simple, take a card from my discard pile and put it back in my hand. The Sage, draw 2 cards and discard a card from your hand. The Druid, look at the opponent's hand and cause them to discard one. Okay, all straightforward, Chris. But then you also have 2 Dragons and 2 Alchemists in this deck. Alchemist is just a wild card. Copy something else that's down there, or you can use it to block like the Wizard in the same way of using it in that sense to react. And then last but not least, the Dragon, the monster. Can't be recovered from the discard pile once you get it in there, but once you play it, you get to destroy 3 cards off of your opponent's tableau. You're like, Chris, this game could easily overstay its welcome. Hell no, it won't, because you just won't have a monster in the form of the Dragon, not this one, or a Sorcerer at some point, and you're going to lose. Is it that clever? A little bit. Is it that fun? Yeah, it is actually. My kids love this game. This is fantastic. And so I'm really happy that they sent this to me. And again, it's going to be one of those that we're just going to play a ton of. I mean, we just played 3 games of this back-to-back this afternoon. Just my kid going, okay, let's play. Okay, that was fun. Let's play. Okay, let's go. That was fun. Let's play again. And that's it. That's all you need to know. And it works. And so that's why I want to shout this out. That's why I do this channel, to talk about these games, to put them on your radar. I don't have the swag of any other big channel, but if any of these are of interest to you, especially this last one, go give it a look-see. Go support small indie game publishers, especially like this. So that's why I did this in the first place. That's why I love playing games in the first place and being hugely surprised by all of these, especially these in this video. Thanks for watching. Stay classy. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you find one that's right for you, because that is more important to me than anything else. Peace out. Subscribe. Have a great freaking fantastic day.